So wait to say,
hey, folks. What was that?
Well, because remember last week when I said that
The audio didn't start.
it doesn't start, so
Okay.
you need to give it a second. So maybe like,
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Hey, folks. Welcome to Common Censored / Moment of Clarity. Thanks for being here. I'm
slash moment of clarity.
well, because it's I'll explain later. So I'm joined by Eleanor Goldfield.
Hi.
And yeah, thanks for being here. We're gonna get into a lot of topics as always. We're gonna explain how the world's ending, but in a good way. And no, I'm just kidding. But
Well, if you mean it in kind of a philosophical way that like worlds end all the time and they're always being reborn as well, then that
Okay.
could be a really beautiful thing.
Okay, I like that. Also, as I'm going to talk about in my new video coming up next week, we're the bed bugs of the world, and it's fumigating. So
Oh, do we have to be bed bugs? I really hate bed bugs.
okay, what would you like to be? It's still got to be something you fumigate in order for the analogy to work.
Ants?
We're the ants of the planet, and I've often said we're like ants on a tiny rock floating in the middle of a nothing and a nowhere. So,
Although ants are far better organized than we are.
hey guys, hey Andy, hey Randy. Sorry, hey Adrian, hey Randy. I wanted to make it Andy and Randy. Hey Alex, hey China, hey John, hey Trish. Thanks for being here. Thanks for joining us. Please take a second to share this and all that good stuff. Click the thumbs up because that does something to the algorithm and makes it like us more. You know, I've tried doing other things like singing softly to it, but it turns out the thumbs up and the comments and shit, that's what actually makes a difference.
That's because you always sing out of tune.
I do not. I do not. I do not.
Oh,
I do
stop,
not sing out of.
please. Oh,
I thought I nailed that.
nailed something.
So I want to start off with this story because we have covered the fact that Roe v. Wade was overturned by our catastrophic, disgusting Supreme Court, and the Democrats have done nothing over many years in order to actually help women with various health issues, but including the right to have an abortion. And so today, or whenever this was, updated as of 2 p.m. Friday, so yesterday, Joe Biden signed an executive order, and I wanted to cover that because I didn't want to be accused of only covering when the Democrats aren't doing something and then they do something and we don't cover it. So let's talk about this. And I see Bob is asking what happened at the Friday show. The Friday show, as it says on that little banner thing, is for members only, and it's at leecamp.net. So all the other shows are right here on rumble.com/leecamp and other places. But yeah, so Biden signs executive order aimed at safeguarding abortion rights. Thank you, Joe Biden. He's here to rescue us. I've always said he'd look good in a cape. Didn't you say that? You used to say that a lot. So President Joe Biden signed an executive order Friday aimed at protecting abortion rights in response to a landmark decision.
I feel like aimed is a key word there. Speaking
there's
of
a lot of keywords.
Media literacy, aimed.
There's a lot of keywords in this. And keep in mind, this is a CNN article about it, so they're trying to polish the turd. They're doing their best. If the new head of CNN actually handed out better polish for them to polish said turds. So the landmark decision, we've already joked about how apparently every decision by the Supreme Court is a landmark decision. The president said the order will safeguard access to abortion care, and no, it won't, and contraceptives, protect patient privacy, which is less of the problem.
Did we do away with HIPAA? I don't understand. Protect patient privacy. What the fuck does that have to do with anything?
And establish an interagency task force. A task force. I pictured guys with dark glasses and guns firing them at fetuses, right? And he says he's used every federal tool available to protect access to reproductive health care. Now, there's a lot of reasons that this is a pile of horseshit, but let's start off with the fact that too little, too late. Why wait till now?
Well, also, this reminds me of I don't remember if it was called a task force or if it was just some kind of committee that was going to look at, it was going to research the issue of racism inside the federal government and come up with a report about it. And everyone applauded him because he was like, oh my gosh, this is so important. And at the same time, those of us who fucking understand how the Democrats work basically said, no, this is nothing. You're creating a task force or a committee or something like that that basically does nothing but reiterate that racism is a thing and does nothing to actually solve any kind of systemic racism problems. This is the same.
They're the kings of
bullshit.
Task forces.
It literally says establish a task force in order to use every federal tool available to protect access to you could just already go ahead and use the tools available to protect access. You don't need a task force to use that. You can just fucking use that. Like, your executive order could have just been ensuring access to reproductive health care, not creating a fucking task force, because basically all this does,
it gets even better,
is that it creates a space for you to dump the shit that you don't want to deal with, which in this case is reproductive health care.
It's exactly everything you said is highlighted, not in the way you highlighted it. Of course, CNN's trying to make this sound good, but if you look at the wording, as I read further in the article, they said the step had not been taken because of declaring it a public health emergency. People have been asking, why aren't they declaring a public health emergency? And then one of their spokespeople said, it hasn't been taken by the White House because they determined that declaring a public health emergency doesn't free very many resources and, quote, doesn't release a significant amount of legal authority. So apparently, declaring a public health emergency has no impact on anything in the world.
It doesn't if you don't want it to. Of course not.
And of course, that's bullshit, because if that were true, then why do we even have that? Why is declaring a public health emergency even a thing if it doesn't free any resources? And then they go, Friday's executive order will prompt the head of, I think, HHS to take steps to ensure access to abortion, including, so think of all this, all the fucking little extra words.
Way to highlight.
Yeah, I didn't even
definition of prompt.
I didn't even realize that did that. But will prompt, so that basically it's an encouragement.
So I think it's that executive order will prompt.
Right.
So it's not an order.
It's not an order to do it. It's a prompt.
It's like a tag you're in.
It's a poke in like the ass, like a little ass poke. Will prompt them to take steps. So again, not do it, just take steps towards it to ensure access to abortion. Like, how many more equivocators?
I know.
Which I don't know if that's a word, but how many more equivocators could you have? They're going to create a task force to study the prompting of the ass poke to the backside of the secretary to the head of HHS, who could then, should she decide it useful, recommend to the HHS head that some actions should be taken if maybe possible, if they get around to it on a 3-day weekend. Like, what?
Yeah, no, it's absurd and disgusting, and this is why media literacy is so important.
And then one more thing, HHS is tasked with submitting a report within the next 30 days to the president regarding the implementation of the order's provisions, which also includes steps to increase outreach.
Outreach to what?
To women that have had their lives destroyed. Outreach and protect the medical and digital privacy of patients seeking abortions. I mean, honestly, like, there are so many loopholes in this. This is basically both them doing this way too late and them doing just short of nothing.
Well, I'm also curious, this focus on the medical and digital privacy. I'm not against medical and digital privacy, but are you protecting the lives of people who are seeking reproductive health care? Or are you just saying, look, no one's going to read this chart about the fact that you sought abortion health care? Like, but that's not what we need right now. Like, cool, let's update our fucking medical privacy laws. But that's really not the issue at the moment. And I'm pretty sure that HIPAA is still a thing. So I don't understand why that's even a fucking conversation. Really just seems like shiny, shiny, look at this over here and don't pay attention to the issue at hand. Because really, people should be allowed and able to go in and get an abortion without having to notify parents if they're underage, in the case that parents might be A, responsible, or B, not willing to allow them to have that bodily autonomy. And parents responsible, I mean, there could be violence in the household. There could be someone involved in the family that's actually responsible for the pregnancy. This happens quite a bit, unfortunately.
I believe the term for that is incest.
Yes, and rape.
And incest rape. Yeah.
And so basically, people should be allowed to do that and have their privacy protected, but that's not the privacy that they're talking about here. And the fact that they're not clear about what this actually means makes me really suspicious of whether this is something that is supposed to bolster HIPAA, that's supposed to just update some digital processes that are from like 2000 that haven't been updated. Like it's so vague and such bullshit that I feel like it's just been thrown in there so they can say, hey, we're doing something about this issue, but it's really just about whether you can log into this thing without having to use Internet Explorer.
But hold on, did you hear the part where they're going to write a report a month from now that says that something could happen, maybe, if Biden's having a good day where he knows his name?
Where he knows his name and Venus is just right behind the solar...
Yeah, when the
plexus of Mars,
Mercury is rising, something.
The retrograde of the
age of Aquarius.
Yeah.
Times 4. So that story leads us to, when you have a system like this that doesn't care for actual citizens, doesn't care for the health rights of actual citizens, and meanwhile, the energy of that society is being thrust into war and killing. That's where the money's going. That's where the effort's going. That's where the energy of the system is going. And so we have a Pentagon where they spend almost $1 trillion a year, which is an unbelievable amount of money. Every time I say it, you can't wrap your mind around it. It's 700.
It's so much.
It's 780 billion, but that doesn't include the black budget and doesn't include misplaced funds, which is also trillions of dollars. But so total, it's about $1 trillion. And anyway, this could be a positive story. Of course, we'll tell you why it's not actually going to change anything.
We're there, folks. It's could.
Progressive lawmakers introduce a bill to slash $100 billion from the Pentagon budget. Now, I'm all for this. Fucking yeah. Let's cut $100 billion from the Pentagon budget. But I'll tell you where there's some caveat, there's some equivocators. If I were a superhero, if Biden and the team were superheroes, they'd be the equivocators. By the way, I made this joke earlier because we were about to start and we saw a photo of Kamala Harris standing next to Biden, and she just looks kind of this is happening.
Okay. And
she just looks kind of annoyed and like smug and annoyed at the same time. And you said, what the fuck is that face she's making? And I said, I think she's just biding her time until Biden is out of office so she can become president. And so literally Kamala Harris is standing next to Biden her time. Is that not all she does? Like, that's her main job. Like, she's the vice Biden.
That should be her campaign slogan.
Biden time?
Kamala 2024.
Biden
time.
Biden time till Biden kills over. Biden time till Biden's fucking neural pathways no longer function enough to speak words. So here's from the article. While the defense budget continues its decades-long upward spiral, Democrats in the House, and this is my problem, one of my problems with Truth Out, Truth Out is trying to make it sound like all Democrats are doing this. They are not. This is 2 Democrats. One of them, I don't know anything about Mark Pocan, but Barbara Lee is one of the few. I think she was the only one that voted against the Iraq war invasion. So she actually occasionally does some good shit. And so Truth Out is acting like this is all of Democrats, and it is fucking not. Democrats in the House are waging a push to do something unprecedented, take billions from the defense budget and redirect the money to social spending. On Monday, Rep. Barbara Lee and Mark Pocan introduced a bill that would cut $100 billion from the defense budget, which for this year was a towering $782 billion. This would likely be the largest year-over-year budget cut that the Pentagon has ever seen. Now, do you want me to explain why this won't happen, or would you like to explain why this won't happen?
I mean, good rule of thumb here. Anytime that, just like the previous story, anytime that you think that the Democrats might have done something good, they likely didn't. And the second point related to that, anytime there's like 1 or 2 people that happen to, fly under the Democrat flag, try to do something good, they fail. And I think that, this is something that we've seen so many different times, even related to abortion. There was a bill that was put forward by a few progressive Democrats in 1993 when the Democrats controlled both houses of Congress and the White House. And they were really excited because they were like, look, we're going to codify Roe v. Wade into law. We're going to get it to Clinton's desk. Everything's going to be awesome. And we all know Clinton would have been happy to sign that. And it failed. It just fell apart because Democrats, the majority of the party, was like, no. We need this as a pawn in our continued bullshit chess game of politics that oppresses and lauds basic human rights over the majority of human beings. This is the same bullshit. The majority of Democrats are on the payroll. If you go to Open Secrets something,
I believe it's .wigglepuss.
OpenSecrets.org. Just look at who the Democrats are funded by. Basically every single fucking one gets money from the arms industry.
Yep.
And so the idea that they would sign on to slashing the Pentagon budget is absurd. They would never do it. And I'm not saying, yes, it is all theater. And I'm not saying that it's a bad idea to have people put stuff like this forward, but I'm saying it'll never go anywhere. This is not something that people inside the system can put forward as legislation. It has to be something that is pushed from the outside of Congress, just like any other change that we want to see happen. It has to be something where we don't allow them to have an alternative. And so far, we have been unsuccessful in pushing for that in pretty much any category for the past, 60 or so years. But I think that, this is legislation that's just that's going to die before it even gets on its feet. And that's unfortunate, but we should be realistic about it.
Yeah, that was about pretty much everything I was going to say, too. They are funded by these corporate, the weapons contractors. They're not going to go against them. So as Truth Out, which Truth Out occasionally does some good stuff, but in my opinion, they act like they tend to act like the most progressive thing that any Democrat in the House ever does is what the Democrats stand for. And it is fucking not. The fact that a couple of people put forward something to cut funding from the Pentagon is great, but it takes a lot more than those 2 people. And I mean, everybody in that House votes endlessly to add more money to the Pentagon budget, to actually make it more deadly, to actually have a Pentagon, a death machine that is the same amount of money as the following whatever. It's like 7 or 10 countries combined.
It's even more now. So I think it's like 10.
But if you don't take those top 10 combined, it's like the same price of the same amount of money as the bottom, something like 140 countries combined military spending. We live in a death cult economically. And so this article talks about Well, let me read one more paragraph. While the Democrats are trying to cut the defense budget, yeah, two of them. President
That's
Joe.
so obnoxious. While the Democrats. I'm sorry. Continue.
I agree. President Joe Biden is requesting even more than Congress appropriated for the Pentagon in 2022. Biden has requested $813 billion for defense for 2023, including $770 billion for the Pentagon. If Congress approves the budget, it would be the largest ever defense budget in the country's history. Yeah, every year is the largest ever in the country's history.
I know. But at the same time, we can't find money for any of the shit that we need. I mean, it gets so tired repeating this shit. But Ukraine got another stimulus check, so that's nice.
That's true. Ukraine has
guys didn't,
has
but
gotten
Ukraine
50 some billion dollars sent to them from the United States, and that is the same amount that we apparently spent in the Afghanistan war each year, most recent years. So like last year and the year before was around 50-60 billion dollars. So we are spending as much in Ukraine, which goes to the defense contractors, which then fund the politicians, which then tell the politicians, you're not cutting the defense budget. And they go, oh, okay. Yes, master. Yes, master. It's a lot of that.
And the wheel keeps turning.
So here's
Wheel in the sky. Sorry.
You go. I'm sure people would love to hear you sing. You told me I'm out of key.
No, I'm in tune. I don't
Do
want to. I don't think we need a music break right now.
Interstitial. So, and the article and the Democrats who put that forward, the $100 billion, talk about the social programs here at home that are being gutted, that we claim we don't have money for. Now, there's a couple of things in this. One is that, yes, that's totally true. We could take that $100 billion and use it for these social programs, but also it doesn't work like that. That's not the amount of money the United States has is unlimited.
Mm-hmm.
We print as much money as we need. When COVID hit, they printed $4.5 trillion or something that was sent to Wall Street. So if they wanted to, if our politicians wanted to, they could print the money to fucking do everything we want. And you would rebuild the community that we fucking live in, that our day-to-day is in. Instead, we're sending it to Ukraine. We could recreate and rebuild a structure that has everything for people, has housing for those who need it, has fucking schools, including universities for those who want it for free, has fucking, free dental care, free health care, has bridges without fucking cracks down the side. As I said in a recent video, those are the varicose veins of a dying empire. And so here's what you end up with when you destroy the social network that makes up a society and, combined with several other aspects of capitalism, such as the fact that we all live in our little isolation boxes and we don't have much community. You end up with this. And this is from New York State. They've purchased a bunch of robot companions to actually make our aging generation feel like they have friends and family.
Everyone, just go hug your grandma, okay? Just right after you listen.
After this is done, call your grandma. Not now. We need you as a viewer, but after. But you see how this is the layers of it that are almost never talked about. You might see a little article like this that's like, isn't this fun? They're buying robot companions for the elderly. But if we still had communities where the elderly were still part of them and we weren't fucking separated from our society and separated from each other, then you wouldn't need fucking robots being like, you look very nice today, Grandma. Grandma, you are lovely. You made delicious dessert today for me. Like,
it's so creepy.
New York State has an office for the aging in charge of administering housing, transportation, and health programs for the elderly, and they've purchased 800 robots. Well, I'm sure that should do it. 800 robots to act as all of New York State has 800 robots. Could you imagine? Like, you would, even if these things did something, you would need one in like every room. You don't just.
Well, and also, can I just pause for a second? I mean, I'm not trying to bash, to bash on the older folks here, but like, there are elders that I know, I won't name names or anything, that can barely work an iPhone, and we're giving them robots and being like, here, you fucking figured out this is your new friend.
I'm sure the robot tells them how to use it.
But it's like,
push my button, please.
Like, it's so fucking out of touch in terms of that like generation, I think. And I'm not saying that all elder people aren't into tech. There are some elder people that definitely are. I'm not generalizing in that sense, but it's like, it's so out of touch in terms of that, but then so out of touch with just like humanity. Like, there's a reason that there have been several dystopian books and movies and concepts about people who only have like the robot in their lives and that's their only friend. And it's fucking depressing as fuck, because that's not a human contact. Like, we are animals. We need other animal contact. And the idea that it would be enough to just be sitting there with a Roomba, I mean, it's just like completely fucking out of touch and dumb. There's no nice way of putting it. It's just fucking stupid.
Yeah, and it's sad. And it's sad because it represents the breakdown of a communal system.
Mm-hmm.
And this has to do with unfettered capitalism. It also has to do with the fact that each of the things that normally would step in place of having to get a fucking robot, a fucking R2-D2 to keep grandma happy, each of those things, it undermines the core belief of capitalism, which is we are an isolated figure trying to get money, and that is all that matters. And you don't need anything else outside of that. And so every moment where people have worked together, chosen to work together as groups, is generally beaten down and stopped. Not necessarily made illegal, although sometimes it is made illegal as well. But it's slowly beaten down. I mean, the communes that existed around the country, and there's been many attempts to have group settings where people work together, but basically the outside capitalism and the capitalist beliefs that are kind of internalized with us as we grow up in the system eat away at it and destroy it, and eventually it collapses. And this doesn't mean that I'm not trying to say a commune is all of the answers, but capitalism has created a system that undercuts all of that and makes it so that at the end of the day, we're all atomized. You know, you got 2 or 3 of us together in a box and we go to work, but you're not really encouraged to like fucking hang out with people. Work time is they're on the clock. You got to be working. This is not time for fraternizing. Not going to be any fraternizing in here.
And another thing that I think is like a key point here, somebody had brought up that robots can be good in these settings because they monitor vitals. Yeah, but anybody who's ever been in a hospital, like for instance, when I was last in the hospital, I wasn't like making friends with my IV. You know, I wasn't sitting there and being like, you know what, it's really great to have someone to talk to. And, you know, I mean, I feel like we're so close because you're literally inside my veins. So I feel like we should start up a conversation, you know, like that's not a friend.
And then it responded, oh, you want me inside of you?
I mean, they already were. So that's why I felt a little awkward. Like we should get to know each other first.
No. But in terms of monitoring the vitals, if this article said
right,
New York State
buys
robots to monitor vitals, I wouldn't be complaining.
Right. That's
different.
Fine. And I think there's another key here that speaks to how our culture throws away the elderly, right? There are other cultures in the world where elders are, I don't want to say respected. And that's not to say that older folks can't get shit wrong. Like there was a good friend of mine that was talking about, she's from Thailand, and she was saying that they have a lot of respect for their elders there, but that she was having some back and forth because her grandparents weren't being respectful of her being queer and things like this. And so it's like, that doesn't mean respecting elders doesn't mean that you just take all of their shit if they're wrong about something. But it also means you don't fucking throw them away. You don't put them in some flea-infested elder care place. I'm not saying that every place is, but most people don't have the money, which is another point, to put their grandparents or their parents into, the fucking Ritz-Carlton equivalent of an elder care facility.
In my family, we used a kennel. Is that okay?
How much? I mean, did she have enough space to turn around?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. There was like a little pretend doggy couch for her.
So we don't respect our elders, and we don't. And that sounds trite. That phrase has been fucking destroyed, but it's true. There should be some respect for the elders in terms of the things that they've learned, the wisdom that they've picked up through the years, and also, and this is key, elders in the movement who have seen some shit, who know like, hey, this tactic never worked. Hey, this kind of infighting is toxic, etc., etc. That gets lost because our culture is built on tossing away elders. So we end up repeating shit, both in terms of just a larger cultural history, but also in terms of movements. And then at the same time, we completely disrespect and throw away in a different sense kids, youth. Those kids out protesting, what the fuck do they know? Like, actually, they know a lot. And if we spend more time learning from kids as opposed to just assuming that they know dick because they're younger than you, then we'd be in a much better place. So it's like, we've got, like, what is the amount of time that you're respected? Because like, it's not, you're in your 20s, then you're too young. But in your 40s, it's like, block. Fuck it. Nobody gives a shit.
You get a little block of respect. And I know he's got some bad shit about him, but Louis C.K. had a good bit about this where he was like, he's like, I'm 40 or 41 or something. That's what he said. And he's like, if you're 20 and you do some shit, people are like, wow, he's only 20. Look at him. Good for that. Good for him. If you're 60 or 80, then people are like, wow, look, that's incredible. He's still going at 80. He's like, but you're 40. People are like, yeah, just do your fucking job, asshole. No one's impressed with anything you did. That's what you're supposed to do. Your shit. That's what you're supposed to do.
And I think that this is another issue with the culture, right? It's like there's this small window of respect, but then it's only certain people that get respect, and that's millionaires and fucking billionaires and assholes, and so it's like the age.
Right, you never see the cover of a Time magazine with just like, look at this grandma who's got some great advice.
Right, it's like the fucking.
Instead, it's Bezos.
The age and then the status of the people that we're supposed to respect in our culture. It's no wonder that we're so fucked up. It's like the whole paradigm tosses people away for a myriad of reasons, and age is just one of them. And this article, I think, highlights that fucking perfectly. And
one more note from this article. The article said this from the Smithsonian Magazine. Loneliness can cause a myriad of negative health effects. By the way, myriad I've always been confused with, because it's not supposed to be, because I assume Smithsonian knows their shit. However, it's not supposed to be a myriad, right? It's supposed to be myriad.
Can it be both? I thought you
myriad
could use both.
Of negative. I mean, nowadays people are fudging it a bit, like this article, but I think it's supposed to be myriad of. Anyway, myriad of negative health effects, including depression, poor sleep quality, impaired executive function, accelerated cognitive decline, poor cardiovascular function, and impaired immunity at every stage of life. Okay, so they're appropriately saying loneliness has a great impact, but here's the thing. Where in this article do they say, maybe we should bring back community? Maybe that's a thing. Maybe we should bring back a life where you don't slave to the bone and you can't take care of your goddamn elders. Maybe we should bring back those things. Maybe we should bring back working together. None of this article says that. It just says, get them a fucking talking toaster and all is right.
I like, okay. I mean,
Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
No, Walter, you're not wrong. It's really remarkable. It's kind of like talking about, oh, we've got some really fucked up weather. Why aren't we connecting that to climate chaos? It's like, if you don't talk about the root causes of this, that capitalism supports and pushes for isolation. It is an isolating system. And I saw somebody mentioned the podcast Capitalism Hits Home, which is a great podcast that's hosted by Harriet Fraud. And she's a I don't want to say psychiatrist or psychologist because I don't know which one it is.
Psychologist.
Okay. But so she talks a lot about the psychological effects of capitalism. And I think this is so important because this is something that's really not discussed that much. And particularly, with the pandemic, which isolated people even further, those who were already lonely and isolated. This is a fucking scourge, and it pushes people into unhealthy and ultimately even perhaps fatal situations. And the system is just like, well, that's just life, and it's like, no, that's just fucking capitalism.
Right. And if our so-called leaders, I don't know what we should call them, fucking shills in government, actually needed to do a lockdown to save lives, and they needed to do it right, then guess what? They cover everybody's fucking life costs, and they make sure everyone ends up in a good situation, rather than just, oh yeah, 1 out of every 3 businesses that's not a corporate chain went out of business and destroyed lives. Oh yeah, people are fucking killing themselves and drinking their misery away because they're locked in a room for 2 years. It's just the fucking saddest, most pathetic. And of course, they're exploiting it the whole way. Wall Street's getting rich. Anyway, that's a side topic. But I just want to do, I'm going to let you answer the myriad question in a second. But I wanted to just highlight Jeffrey Long's post here. He said, give elders more weed. Yes, all of the drugs. All of the drugs should be given to elder. Dude, fucking, if you're in your last years, have fun.
Seriously.
What the fuck are we worried about? Oh, well, they might get addicted. Oh, is that a real problem? Is that, you're like, dude, that guy is 97 and he smokes weed. I don't want to rat him out twice a day. Okay. It's really fucked up. What, does he need to be productive? Does he need to get his shit done? Does he need to sit there and play Connect 4 for 12 hours more effectively? And the weed fogs his brain? Fuck you. Have fun. Anyway.
I'm not getting a clear answer about the myriad, by the way. The only thing that I'm seeing is that people are saying that you can use myriad with myriad of or myriad without the of. So
it's.
So I'm not getting a
so there's no debate on the only on the of.
Well, it seems that most people are using the like on dictionary.com.
Yeah, no, I mean, I use it too, but I had read that it was wrong. But that didn't stop me because I couldn't. It's one of these things. The reason it's used that way is because it makes more sense to the human brain to say a myriad of.
So here they're saying that if you use it as a noun, it's a myriad of stars. Well, that's not a noun. That would be
adjective.
Myriad of stars in the night sky. So they wrote this wrong. Then there's, as a noun, the myriad stars in the night sky.
Still an adjective. Yeah, that's weird.
Yes, that's still an adjective.
Confusing. But anyway,
can you have a myriad?
Give it 3 more weeks, and this won't be a debate anymore, and it'll just be a myriad of. But it's kind of like the word moot, which, if you look it up, the first definition is arguable. And I used to have a joke about this. The first definition is arguable, as in this debate is moot. The second definition is inarguable, as in this debate is moot. And I think the reason is because it initially meant arguable, as in it is an arguable debate. It is moot. But because the word sounds like this is fucking over, like it's got a ring to it, like moot. It sounds like someone yelled like in the middle of the day, moot, and everything ended. You know, it's like the word cunt just ends. It's just and so you can't. It doesn't feel squishy like arguable. It feels like this is moot, and so now we use it to mean inarguable. All right.
I like that. That was a good. I really liked your physicality with the English language there. That was nice.
Hey, folks, we're going to finish up this live stream at rumble.com/Lee Camp. That's rumble.com/Lee Camp. It's free to watch there, so you aren't missing anything if you don't pay or anything. I'm putting it in the comment section right now. It's right over there, and you can continue watching. If you are watching there right now, then nothing will change for you. It'll keep going as is. But I just wanted to let you know the rest of this. And this live stream, by the way, if you want to watch these after they end, they will live at rumble.com/Lee Camp.
They will also live eventually on the Common Censored podcast.
Oh, yeah. This is also a podcast, which I hope you'll check out. Because a lot of people don't have time for the full video. So I hope you'll check out the podcast.
And also, I mean, the video is good. But, I mean, we don't do, like, special effects or anything. So
speak for yourself. Oh, now I got to throw out all these fireworks I have down at my feet. Shit. So, yeah, we're going to keep going, but just wanted to let you know. And let's see, while America's elderly are incredibly lonely and unhappy, and some of them are hungry and some of them are homeless, while that's going on, I thought you'd enjoy seeing what Nancy Pelosi is up to. Let's see. Here is a post showing. So she's begging for money. This is, so on the left, you see, this is a post from her. It says, I asked you Monday, I asked you Tuesday, I asked you Wednesday, I asked you Thursday. I'm truly sorry to ask you again today. And then it's in
stalker.
I know, seriously, is this not a hate crime? So, and then it's underlined in red, and it says, my team has informed me that we failed to meet yesterday's end of the quarter deadline since the Supreme Court's ruling, and she means deadline for donations to her and her campaign, an endless campaign, her ongoing campaign for everything. She goes, I won't sugarcoat this. If I don't reach 1,387 more gifts, meaning donations, before midnight to close the gap, it will be the single most devastating setback to Democrats' chances of winning the election and protecting women's reproductive freedoms nationwide.
Which you never did.
Okay, so that is what she's posting. Simultaneously, this is where she actually was. She was in a palace. Which country? Italy. Watching out the window a horse race. In a palace on vacation in Italy.
I just like to point out, she has elbow pillows.
And she has elbow pillows. I think the elbow pillows are probably the key to the entire.
I think that to me is I think that might be the most offensive part of this is the elbow pillows. Because at least if she was hanging out of a window uncomfortable, I'd feel a little bit better.
She was a little uncomfortable watching her horse race. Would you like to talk about the how these donations are the last chance to protect a woman's right to choose?
Yeah, folks, I've been meaning to tell you, if you were thinking of donating to, abortion access funds that help people cross state lines in order to